The smartphone talk is dominated around the iPhone 5 and other Android devices like the Droid DNA, the Galaxy Note 2, and the Galaxy S3. How's it going, guys? I'm Aaron from PhoneDog.com, and those are awesome devices, but there are some other equally good devices out there that are good price points, including the LG Spectrum 2. Now, under the hood, this thing's got some decent specifications. A 1.5 gigahertz dual-core Snapdragon S4 CPU, a 4.7-inch IPS HD display, an 8-megapixel camera, Android 4.0, a 2,150 milliamp hour battery, and 4G LTE connectivity. So it's up there in terms of specs, but it's available at a nice price so it can compete with other devices on the market. Is this the device to get this holiday season, or should you splurge and get that Galaxy S3 or the Note 2? We'll find out in the full review, but first, special thanks to our partners at Best Buy Mobile for giving us devices like this for use in our One Paw Bandit giveaway game. When you walk into Best Buy Mobile, you'll walk out working. They'll help you set up your email, your web, your contacts, your settings, and more, so when you walk out the door, you're good to go. Spectrum 2, let's take a look and see if this is the Android device to get this holiday season in the full review. Let's go take a look right now. It's not necessarily the most talked about device this holiday season, but when you look at it, the LG Spectrum 2 has a lot to like. It's got a pretty decent feature set here. It's available now on Verizon Wireless for $99.99 online or $149.99 in the stores. My assumption is it's $150 in the stores because online it says $150 with a $50 online only discount. So I'm assuming it's $150 there and $100 online. But the LG Spectrum 2 is a remake to the LG Spectrum that came out on Verizon some time ago, but specs-wise, it's bringing some decent stuff to the table. It's got a 1.5 gigahertz dual-core Snapdragon S4 CPU. If you just heard that in the background, that was a poster that just fell off the wall. 1 gigabyte of RAM. It's got a 4.7-inch True HD IPS display here with a advanced high performance, according to the press release, but really a 4.7-inch HD display at 720p. It's packing a 2,150 milliamp hour battery that is removable, and it's got Android 4.0 with LG's custom user interface. So, ice cream sandwich, 4G LTE on Verizon, dual-core processor. It's a pretty decently spec device for $100. So yeah, you may be excited about the Galaxy S3 or the Galaxy Note 2 or the Droid DNA or something else, the iPhone 5, something of that nature on Verizon. But if you're looking to spend a little bit less money, this could be a decent device for you. Now, out of the gate, you're familiar with LG's user interface if you've watched my videos, and not a whole lot has changed here. First of all, you'll notice in the notifications bar, you've got your typical settings up here. And what I like about LG's user interface is you can come over here to edit. And let's say, for example, I use airplane mode on a regular basis because I'm always flying. I use NFC on a regular basis, which actually I don't, so I'm going to go ahead and pull that back down. That was a lie. I didn't mean to lie to you, friends. GPS, we'll throw that back up here in the top. Quick memo and sound profile, well, I can go ahead and do more as well, and I can turn on, let's say, auto rotate, brightness, and then, of course, data functionality. So I can bring those into the fold as well. And when I hit done, or actually when I hit back, you'll notice that they're recustomized here. Airplane mode's now over on the far left. So you can kind of customize this for what works best for you. So if you're like me, you use airplane mode all the time, or perhaps you use quick memo a lot because you found it to be a really useful tool in your time with LG's devices. With the later version of LG's user interface, you can switch it out and have your own customizations as you see fit up here. Also, if you get rid of enough of them, it just makes the buttons larger. So cool little customizations there. Not quite up to par with Sense 4 Plus, with TouchWiz, with some of the different variants of Android UIs out on the market, but still LG's made some headway from where they were a year ago. So you'll see, for example, got rid of all those, so now the buttons are a little bit bigger. You'll notice the Wi-Fi button here as well. It's a pesky little Verizon thing. Verizon wants you to know that, hey, you know what, you've got a capped data limit that you can stick to, and if you go over, you're going to pay extra money, excuse me, per month. That said, they want you to know you have Wi-Fi available if you need it. So the Wi-Fi button stays there. There's no way to get rid of that, much like on the Droid DNA, on the Galaxy S3, those pesky Wi-Fi notifications. I don't care for them. I think people are smart enough in today's wireless world to turn on Wi-Fi, and of course every retail person is going to be like, you'd be surprised, Aaron. I worked retail for years. I know the typical retail customer. That said, I'd like to be able to see the ability to get rid of that if I need be, or if I see fit as a consumer. So that's something that's there out of the gate on the Verizon device. Other things that are out of the box: Amazon Kindle, Amazon MP3, Amex Serve, Vcast apps, or Verizon apps, whatever you want to call it, Google Plus integration as we would expect, IMDb, and unfortunately it looks like none of this stuff can be uninstalled. So you got the typical Verizon stuff, Verizon Video, VZ Navigator, Visual Voicemail, which is available from Verizon for $2.99 per month. I think you get a 30-day free trial on that, if I recall. Then you got VZ Navigator as well, which does have some pretty useful stuff. Granted, it's all Verizon bloatware. You may hate it, but I will give VZ Navigator some credit because in comparison to Google Maps, it does have some nice little things like Gas Finder and more, and they have reduced the price of it. So it's still not quite as expensive as it used to be, and it does have some neat features. Otherwise, some applications that I've downloaded, which you can also see in the downloads folder, and it's pretty customizable here. And you'll notice LG's user interface does have a little bit of a speed boost since when we last looked at it. If you think back to like the original Spectrum, or perhaps back to some of the older LG devices, both on Verizon and the Revolution, things like that, it is a huge improvement here. LG's done a great job to really bring it forward. That said, this platform or this user interface within itself isn't as mature as Sense 4, as TouchWiz, as Motorola's UI. So that said, you know what, you may find that to be kind of a disappointment. But if you're used to it, if you're used to working with LG, there's a lot to like on this device, and actually some pretty cool little customization things as well. We'll take a look into settings, and we'll go down to display and home screen. We'll take a look in display first, and of course you can change the font type if you want to HY Travel. I'll change the font size. I'll keep that at small. The pouch clock screen, we can change that if we want to. Set that as a pouch screen. And we'll come back out here. Front key light, notification flash, auto rotate screen, screen timeout, all the usual stuff there. We'll go into home screen and we'll go to theme, and you can change the theme around. So if I want to do Thor, for example, some new icons that come as a result of that. Now what I like here is, let's say I come back out and I'll wait for this to load, and then we'll go into what I was talking about. But another feature, while I'm kind of focused on it here, you can see the 62% indicator up top. I love that. It's something that HTC still does not have, that Motorola still does not have, and stock Android still does not have. It's an arbitrary battery meter, and that's all you get. And I would love to be able to look at this, something like this, and say, you know what, hey, how much does that actually mean? Is that 45%? Is that 40%? Is it 50, 52? I like physical percentages, and you can always turn it off if you don't want it, but I like the option to have something like that out of the box. And so for that, LG does meet that demand. So I can see that I have, hey, you know what, exactly 62% remaining, so I know what I've got. But some other cool customization things. Scroll wallpaper is pretty cool. We can change the wallpapers. We'll take a look at that in just a second. The screen swipe effect, excuse me. We'll do accordion, for example. And you'll notice that when I go to swipe the screen, as soon as the icons decide to load, I have the accordion look and feel here. So you can see it kind of folds in and folds back out. And I can have a maximum of 7 home screens with the ability to select the default screen. Now obviously the icons have changed here, but you know what, let's say I look at the contacts, or let's say I look at the messaging one, and I'm like, you know what, I don't like that icon. When I let go, you notice a purple circle up there in the top right hand corner that suddenly goes away. I can click on that and change that individual icon. So I can bring it into this messaging icon, for example, or I can click that and get back out. And let's say I want to do an M, for example. Let's do M. And it keeps it in line with the theme that's pre-selected on the device. So obviously this kind of neon looking theme with the cool background. See an M there, so I can change that around. You can customize your icons. I think that's really cool, and that's something that no other user interface is doing right now. So granted, you can change your wallpaper on any Android device. You can change the font on quite a few Android devices. You can change the font size on quite a few Android devices. But this is something that's unique to LG. And I think in this space, when it's increasingly crowded, particularly in the Android realm, you gotta have those cool little customization features that set yourself apart from other vendors and OEMs on the market. So I'll press and hold here, and you can see this is what our customization screen looks like when I press and hold on Android 4.0. So I can select between apps, downloads, widgets, and wallpaper, so I can change the wallpapers in real time if I want to. And let's select, you know what, the city. We'll select the city. I'm gonna go back and select a widget while I'm in here as well. You can see a multitude of clocks, a multitude of widgets in general. You've got digital clock here, you've got email accounts, Gmail label, all the usual stuff you would expect. Some LG stuff in here. I happen to be a fan of this Yahoo News widget. I can bring it up here, and I can size it like that and kind of change around the size if I want to, make it larger if I want it to take up the full screen, because you know what, I'm a news guy and I want all my news on one page, or I can make it smaller if I want to save room for more on the page itself. So I can bring it down to, let's say, that size. And then I have room in the bottom, and I can press and hold and go right back to my widget selection, do something like rich node or maybe power control, and just drag and drop those right onto the home screen. So you've got 7 different screen options, or home screens rather, to work with. A lot of different choices there. And the widgets are pretty stock, but you do get some LG widgets here as well, in addition to the dynamic Google widgets, which give you access to things like Gmail, where you can search your Gmail stuff in real time. and easily access your email. Let's take a look at messaging on this device, and you can see a couple of different options here. You'll notice when I change the font on the keyboard obviously changes as well. So out of the box, you get a couple of different keyboards. You get Google Voice Typing, or I should say really one, but Google Voice Typing in with the LG keyboard. Now you can download additional keyboards from the Android, or from Google Play rather. I happen to be a fan of one called Jelly Bean Android 4.2 keyboard by John, I believe it's John Tanmi, T-A-N-M-I. He's done some great work with stock keyboards. I happen to be a fan of the stock Jelly Bean keyboard. You can download it for free at Google Play, and then you have, of course, Swift Key and Swipe and all the different options of which are available. But LG's keyboard's made some pretty significant steps over the past 6 months or so, and I have a much easier time typing on this. It is Tuesday. Much easier time typing on this than I did even 6 months ago. They've really improved it. It has kind of an iPhone look and feel to it. It kind of sounds like an iPhone as well, and it's much easier rather to type on. So out of the box, it's one of my favorites. Now, it's gone from being the worst to being one of my favorite stock keyboards behind the HTC Sense 4 Plus keyboard, which has just made dramatic leaps and bounds and has jumped into the first place spot for me. If I had to rank OEM keyboards, I'd say Sense 4 Plus keyboard, this keyboard second, Motorola's multi-touch keyboard third, and then Samsung's stock keyboard somewhere way at the bottom. I love their devices, cannot stand their physical or their QWERTY keyboard that they include out of the gate, at least on their existing TouchWiz devices. But you can see 4.7 inches, easy to go into portrait and landscape mode here, no lag, or a little to no lag, I should say, thanks to that dual-core S4 processor. You got 4.7 inches of screen real estate to work with here, and overall, let's just take a look while we're talking about it at the design itself. You got your volume rocker over here on the left side, got some buttons at the bottom, back, home, recent applications and menu, nothing on that side. Nothing on the top with the exception of a power button and a 3.5mm headphone jack. Your 8-megapixel cameras on the back, and this is removable to showcase the 2,150 milliamp hour battery, a micro SD card slot, and a micro SIM card slot on Verizon Wireless. Stay tuned for part 2. We'll do some speed tests. We'll talk a little bit more about the design and some of the perks this device has for $100, including wireless charging. Stay tuned.